Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The translation, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nanshi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? So I hope that when your listeners are going to listen to my story, before they think of buying a house, they need to pray first so that God can guide them. This thing of just me wanting to own a house, then you just buy whatever house that you come across. Later on, you can regret the deal that you would have made. So this is what happened to me. Me and my wife, we had been working in South Africa for a very long time. So after we had raised enough money, that was when we thought that it was far much better to buy a property back home in Harare. We thought that we had found a perfect home for our family, but only to discover that this was just a place of horror. A lot of rituals had been done there, and this is how I ended up losing my wife, and I nearly started running mad because of some things that I cannot even fully explain. There was a ghost, a spirit of a man who claimed that he was from Malawi. This man was claiming that when he came to Zim, he then got married, and when he got married to his wife, he was working at this other mine. So he then started telling his wife that they needed to buy a house in Harare at that time, and then the wife then bought the house, and they had agreed that his name was going to be on the title deeds, as well as the name of the wife as well was going to be on the title deeds. Since he was someone who was always working at the mines, he would only give the money to his wife. Then the wife then chose to rob him, and his name was removed from the title deeds. So it all began a couple of years when my wife and I decided to buy our first home, and we had been renting for years and years, and we had been renting in South Africa as well as in Glenora. We then found a house in Mavuku that was within our budget. It felt like a dream come true. This house, it was okay. It just needed some renovations here and there. It had everything that we needed. We even saw that we could even start a small garden and a small project. And this is what we had always hoped for after working for a couple of years in South Africa. Then the children of that woman, they were the ones who told us that they were willing to sell their mother's property. And it even happened that these kids, they were not the kids of that man who was from Malawi. This woman had been impregnated by other men when her husband from Malawi was busy working at the farm. When he was busy working at the mine, by the time that he found out that this was what had happened, he died of a heartbreak. And when these kids tried to sell this house to us, we saw that they were willing to negotiate and to negotiate as if they were just trying to get rid of this property. They just said that simply because their mother had died, the mother had died like 2 years ago before they had sold this property to us. So they were not even excited. So we moved in quickly because we bought it so cheap. But from the very first night, we indeed saw that there was something that was really wrong. And my wife was the first one to say that I just feel like there is something that is wrong with this house. And she even said that we were supposed to call some people that were supposed to come and pray. But as for me, I had worked hard as a professional for a very long time, and I had came to believe that most of the people who claimed to be prophets, they were just thieves trying to rob poor people money, those that did not go to school. So I told my wife that no, everything is okay. I did not even believe that the spiritual realm, it existed anyway. So that night, when we spent the night at our home, my wife kept on telling me that she was feeling as if she was being watched. Each and every time when she would wake up, she would also wake me up, and she would be like, there is someone who is here, who is watching me. I tried to tell her that it was just her imagination, but deep down I was beginning to feel like there was someone who was with us in the bedroom. So as the weeks went by, then it became more and more frequent. Sometimes we would hear footsteps, like someone walking in the hallway when no one was there, and sometimes we would find objects being moved or knocked over. Then there was this other night something happened, something that I could not explain. I was lying in bed, half asleep, when I felt like there was someone who was busy shaking the bed as if someone had sat down on it. I opened my eyes and I saw nothing, but this feeling of someone there with us was just overwhelming. And that was when I heard a voice. This voice, Brother Nashi, that was when I heard that this person that was talking to me, this person was from Malawi, because the type of Shona that he was using, the accent, you know, when people from Malawi, when they are speaking in Shona, you can hear them. The voice said that this house is not for sale. I just heard the voice. I froze. I was unable to move, unable to speak, and it just felt that there was someone that was there with me in my bedroom. This voice then repeated again, and it said, this house is not for sale. Then just as suddenly as it had begun, the presence of that spirit just vanished, leaving me shaking, and I was sweating a lot. I tried to convince myself that it was just a nightmare, but I knew that it was not a nightmare. And my wife, she knew something was wrong too. She begged me to leave the house, to find somewhere else to live, to sell this property. But we had spent all of our saving on this place and we could not afford to leave. So we stayed hoping that what was happening was going to stop. But it did not stop at all. The disturbances, they even grew worse and worse. And as for my wife, she became so sick, like really sick. Then she started to complain. She kept on saying that she felt like there was someone who was having a razor blade. Then this person had his or her hands inside her stomach, as if the person was cutting her inside her stomach with that razor blade. And we thought that maybe she was pregnant. This was 3 months later, because her stomach began to swell as if she was a pregnant woman. We went to the hospital, but the doctors could not even know or tell us what was wrong with her. They could not find anything. They ran test after test, but every result came back normal. Yet her condition, it worsened by the day. As for my wife, she became weaker and weaker. Her skin, you could tell that this person is about to die. She was always in pain and no medication seemed to help. They were giving her some pain medication, but they said that this was going to destroy her liver, the way that she was taking all of this pain medication. I watched helplessly as my wife was dying slowly, consumed by a disease that no one could even know. She would cry out into the night, and she kept on saying that she felt like there was someone who was cutting her stomach wide open. And we kept on praying and praying. One night, as I sat by her side, I heard the voice again, and it said that I had given you a warning to leave my house. This house is not for sale. It was louder this time, as if it was booming from a loudspeaker. And then that was when I felt my wife. She cried even more desperate. When I looked at her, I saw that my wife, she was sleeping away, and then her little sister who was with us, she rushed to the bedroom and she said that we have to take her back to the village. And I allowed her relatives to take her back to the village. She was returned back to the village a week later. That was when my wife passed away. She died in her sleep. The way that she was so thin, it was really sad, really sad. And as for her stomach, it was really swollen. The doctor still had no explanation. Since she died in the village, there was no time for her to be taken to the mortuary. After the day that she had passed away, that was when she was buried. Even the day that we buried her, some people kept on saying that they had heard a voice that had came out of the coffin saying that I am sorry, but I told them that the house is not for sale. They had to go and collect their money back. So this is what is happening right now, because there are people who are saying that I sacrificed my wife. This really hurts me that some people, they even say that I sacrificed my wife, because the moment that when she was being buried, some people claim that they had a voice which was telling them that it even warned me not to buy this house. So this is my confession, Brother Nashi. This is where I am. I bought a house in Mavuku, and I never knew that there was a long history. This house was never meant to be sold. This house, it is haunted by the spirit of that man from Malawi who was robbed by his Zimbabwean wife, and that man, his spirit claimed my wife's life. I wish that I had listened to my wife the night that we spent at that house in Mavuku, but here I am, always punishing myself. I keep on telling myself that I am the reason as to why my wife had to die. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother. That is a translation of a message that was sent to me. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world.